Hey, I'm Rob from Ginger Woodworks. I'm here with Project DIY. We're going to show you guys how to make this rustic reclaimed table tray. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to use a 2x4. It's a premium 2x4 we got at Lowe's. I'm going to cut these at two of them at 12.5 inches. Now we're going to cut the rest of the table tray. We're actually going to cut 6 pieces at 20 inches. They're going to be 2 of the sides, and they're going to be 4 of them are going to be for underneath. So what we're going to do here is we've picked up a couple of handles for the table tray. So how we would like to do this is we're going to cut down and kind of set this handle down here. So in order to do that and make it look kind of nice, we've measured this off and it's 1.5 inches. So what we want is the top of the handle ultimately is going to match up with the top of the wood. But we are going to cut a piece out of here to kind of set this down. So what I've done is I've measured our board, which is 12.5 inches, and I've centered this down here at 6.25 to the center. So you can see I did that here. And then I came down a little bit short of 1.5 inches, which is basically the height of this handle, so that when we draw our outline to cut on the bandsaw or with a jigsaw, that we're going to be able to drop this down here just like that. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to make a couple relief cuts. So I'm going to come straight down here. I'm also going to come in kind of at an angle right here. That way when I start to cut this, we're going to have pieces come out and it's going to allow a smoother cut. So now what we did was we clamped the 2 ends of the table tray down. We've put the one that we've already cut on top, and we're tracing on the other one. Then we're going to go ahead and cut that one out as well. So before we assemble the table tray, what we're going to do is we're going to knock off kind of the edges. You can see this edge here, so we got a little scraggles here. We're just going to knock these edges off so that when we assemble this table tray, none of those pieces are kind of stuck on the edges in between the joints. So we're going to go through and we're going to do that on all of the edges. With the 60 grit, we've got a 60 grit premium Gator sponge. It's going to really allow us to do that quick. Go through, kind of flip it. Obviously we're going to do some more sanding, but before we assemble this, we want to knock those edges off. So we're going to countersink, pre-drill countersink for our screws on either side. What I like to do is I like to set these up and put this here so that everything is nice and level and even. I'm going to do the same thing on this side as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach these sides to the table tray. Got it nice and tight. Use those holes that we've already pre-drilled and countersunk. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pre-drill and countersink for the screws for the bottom of the tray. And what we've got here is I've got 2 pieces of just scrap wood that I've set down so that we can get them in there, put a few holes in here, and we're not messing with the bottom of that tray. I have clamped down the first piece of the bottom of the table tray. I've clamped it down to the table so that it's nice and aligned, so the rest of these boards, when I put them down, they're going to line up real nice, as you can see. So we've pre-drilled already. So now we're just going to put the screws in. So now that we've finished up the build and we've scuffed up our rustic table tray, what we're going to do is we're going to progress through all of the sanding grits from 60, 120, and 220, making sure that we use that on all of the products. So for this, we're going to use the micro zip in the corners, just like this, to make sure that we're getting along the edges on the inside of this tray. We're also going to use it in the corners right here. We've kind of like roughed that up a little bit. We've roughed this up. We want to make sure that we're smoothing these out enough so they're nice and smooth and they still give that rustic look. So we're also going to use the sanding sponges for the bulk of the sanding. What we've tried to do is make sure that this project is something that everybody could do with or without a sander. So obviously you can use an orbital sander, but on this we're going to start with 60 again, and we're going to work all the way through 220 grits. So now that we've finished sanding our rustic table tray, what we're going to do is we're going to start staining it. Again, I'm going to use a dark walnut stain. The reason that I'm selecting the dark walnut stain is because we have taken the angle grinder and I have scuffed it up to give it that reclaimed look, and this dark walnut stain is going to make those scuffs really pop. So as you're going to see, I'm going to start in the corners just to make sure that we're getting all that stain deep into those corners and along the edges on the inside of this table tray. And work that right along the edges, right through all these cracks. As you can see, as we stain this, you can start to see all of these marks that I did with the angle grinder start to kind of come alive. One of the tips also is when you use the angle grinder and you get these gouges, you want to make sure that you get those gouges first, and then you kind of wipe off the excess stain so that after you're done, you don't have any of this stain kind of dripping down and causing unnatural dark spots. I'm always coming back with the back end of my staining pad to make sure that I'm cleaning off that extra stain so that it doesn't again cause unnatural dark spots. So now that we've finished staining our tray, what we're going to do is we're going to add our handles. Before we added our handles, what we did was we took an 80 grit Gator sponge and we scuffed up our handles that were pretty shiny so that they were more fitting for this reclaimed look. We're going to use the hardware that's supplied to attach these handles.